Hey, everybody, and welcome to the brand called you. So, listen, the way I see it, most people are thrilled when they can make enough money to pay the bills with their job. If you can actually find meaning and pay the bills, that's a pretty rare thing. But today's guest has really made a lifetime of doing that. Our guest today is Audrey Winkler. She is the executive director of JESPY, which is an agency that supports adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But she's had a lifetime of incredibly important work. In 2019, she was appointed by Governor Murphy of New Jersey to sit on an oversight board that advocated for improvements to benefit individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. She was a director at Seton Hall University's nonprofit Sector Resource Institute Center for Community Research and Engagement. And she was also a professor there. She ran her own consultancy, helping nonprofits to flourish. And prior to that, she was director of operations for Liberty Science Center in New Jersey. So the list goes on and on and on. I'm really, really intrigued to talk to her. So welcome, Audrey Winkler.
Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, my first real question is, it seems like your entire resume has been working in the nonprofit sector. Is that pretty accurate?
It's totally accurate. My entire career has been in the nonprofit world.
Most people end up doing that later after they've had a miserable life in the corporate world. I'm just curious, like, what drove you from the beginning to sort of be something more than just mercenary with your career?
Well, I really love the service part. It's incredibly rewarding. The opportunities and the challenges to help nonprofits and work with nonprofits has really been exciting and wonderful. And that's been a great trajectory for me.
I mean, if I'm just going to get a little bit deeper. I know that we share one thing in common. Both of us are children of Holocaust survivors, and there tends to be a tendency that we go into the helping fields. And I wonder if it's a sort of heightened sense of empathy due to what we witnessed as children, or did you always feel that you kind of, I feel like there's something beyond, like, it's just an interesting, like 90% of us go into the helping fields. And I just want
I had no idea about that. I really didn't know that. It makes a lot of sense because not just the empathy, but the passion for other human beings and their welfare. Yeah, that really makes a lot of sense.
So what does an executive director of an organization like yours actually do?
So I have the honor to lead 100 wonderful people who serve our community, direct support professionals who serve our 300 clients with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I lead a large organization that not only provides programs and services, we also offer residential opportunities, clinical and behavioral services, fitness and athletics. So it's a 360-degree program that we're operating.
So a lot of people that are watching this are not living in America, let alone New Jersey. And for many, many people outside of the US, housing is a kind of privilege, a right. I know in the Netherlands, where I lived for many years, a very, very large percentage of housing is supported by the government. I don't think that's the case in the US. And I think you're, if I'm not mistaken, one of your main issues is affordable housing for your clients. Can you just explain how it works in New Jersey and in America? Maybe a bit.
Yeah. So I could talk to New Jersey. Of course, in New Jersey, there are a lot more resources than many other states for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Housing is a critical need in New Jersey for people with disabilities. And we realize that there's not going to be a champion coming in on a horse. We're going to have to do it ourselves for our own clients. So we've developed this incredible initiative to provide affordable housing for our clients. We are based in South Orange, New Jersey, and the rates, the rental rates are escalating, and we have to do something. So we're developing this Go Big for JESPY project.
Tell me about that. Like, what is this, your latest initiative?
Right. So, we've already said statewide, there's an incredible shortage to provide housing for people with disabilities. And affordable housing in many areas of New Jersey are few and far between for people with disabilities.
Sorry to
So,
interrupt you, but does it change according to who's governor, or has it been pretty consistently crappy?
well, it's been a struggle for decades. It incrementally, I think it's getting better, but not fast enough for our clients to really benefit from it. And this Go Big for JESPY initiative is where we are going to be building 2 buildings here in South Orange that will provide affordable housing for our clients. So affordably priced housing is a need that our clients have. They work really hard. We have a very aggressive and assertive vocational program. So we find jobs for our clients, but their salaries cannot keep up with the rising rents.
They generally, your population gets lower paying jobs. Is that sort of the
Yeah,
way?
because they're sort of entry level jobs. And although we help our clients to move into management and leadership positions, it doesn't happen as fast for them.
So how do you pay for a building like that? And how do you subsidize if you're not getting money from the state, for example?
Great question. We're doing this with individual philanthropy, and we have gone out and started, of course, a capital campaign. We have been incredibly thankful and appreciative of Leon and Toby Cooperman, who have made an incredible matching gift to us of $13.5 million. And that's really helping us to start and launch our fundraising efforts. So it's all private dollars. It's a lot of work, but we're doing it.
Do you feel like many of your donors have a personal connection to your population? Is that what drives a lot of donations?
That's a really great question. That's actually not the case. It's not the case that most of our donors have a personal connection. Many certainly do, and our families and, friends of JESPY certainly do. But for most of our donors, it's really about giving. It's doing the right thing. It's looking at where the need is and providing for that need. That's what's really the most rewarding part about that.
Anybody who's lived in Europe like I did can tell you that when you do get such generous giving on the part of the government, there tends to be less individual giving. And that's one of the things that I noticed about Americans. They kind of take up where, a more capitalistic, less generous, supportive government doesn't. They pick up the slack, the individuals. And
it's similar to the Coopermans, who are incredible philanthropists. There are many out there who are just doing wonderful things. And it's about, I always say that once you have a tour here at JESPY and you meet our clients and you learn about what we do, people are in, they bought into it and they love it.
Well, give me an idea of what you do. So for I would love to follow. Tell me a person, how would they find you? Would you find them? Give me the trajectory of one person that would go through your system, for example.
Right. So, we do a lot of outreach and marketing, of course, and families will come to us. We have an intake process. We accept our clients, and then they come in, and they begin the program.
Who falls within the range of your client base? Who is it, are you looking at your target?
Intellectual and developmental disabilities who have the initiative and the drive to be independent. So where we specialize is in advancing independence. And whatever that is for different people, it means different things, and they have different goals for independence. And those are the type of clients, and they come in and we offer a 360-degree approach where we provide so many opportunities for them, whether it's day program or recreation. Many of our clients earlier in their youth had social social challenges. We teach social skills. We are a non-judgmental, totally accepting organization. We have 12 married couples here who met and married here, so
Could it be like, for example, on the spectrum of autism, or I'm trying to
yeah,
understand what the
yes,
limitations would be, for example.
yes, people with autism, people with Down syndrome. There are a lot of types of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
So
Yeah.
did you just say you had couples meet and marry in your program?
Yes, they
How
did.
many weddings have you had exactly?
I think we've had 14 or 16. We have 12 couples now that are still with us here at JESPY.
And what about if they want to start families? Are you providing help for that too? Or want to have children, or do you provide, like, does it expand as the families expand?
Yeah, none of them are having families, but we certainly support our clients in every way. So, yeah.
So, what does it mean to help somebody become independent? I mean, give me an example of
So
that.
I'll give you an example. So in our day program, for instance, one of our clients just learned how to use the microwave. And for most of us, we would say, oh, what's the big deal? Like, to use it. Well, this was a really significant milestone and goal for him. And his mom is so thrilled because now when she works late, she knows that he'll be able to prepare his dinner and have a hot meal. And this was really wonderful. We have other clients, for instance, who come to us and they don't know how to behave safely in the community or how to cross the street safely. And we teach them these skills that help to become independent. Cooking skills, cleaning skills, socialization skills, all of these skills that are so important to help them reach their potential, reach their goals, so that they can thrive in their life.
It's so obvious, these small things, yet it makes sense that it might, like, I can imagine for so many people it's overlooked, these basic small skills. I mean, it's sort of fascinating that, this isn't done regularly with this population,
Right.
inside of your program.
We offer a very unique perspective. We're not the only ones, certainly. But this is our mission, is advancing independence, and we will help our clients with whatever independent goals they seek.
I mean, you were telling me that it's a kind of innovative model that you're doing. I mean, what are some of the more innovative things that you guys are doing that other organizations are looking to?
Well, because we provide the 360-degree approach, it's sort of a one-stop, all of the core services you can get here, from clinical and behavioral supports, which is really critical. Fitness and athletics, we're the largest team in Essex County to go to the Special Olympics. That's a very important thing for our clients.
Say that again?
So the largest team in Essex County to go to the Special Olympics. Yeah, which is wonderful. Because it's not just about winning medals, which we do and the clients love it, but it's also about self-confidence and self-determination and all these types of goals that enrich our clients and help them become independent.
I mean, so have you watched many individuals transform it? I mean, have you actually seen the transformation process?
Yes, we've seen incredible growth in our clients who are thriving and really doing well in this community.
I mean, I'm really curious. Did you study, I know you do best practices, but did you ever study models, either outside of New Jersey or outside of the country? Like, I'm really curious what other places are doing. I mean, what was one of the more interesting things that you observed that maybe brought back some ideas? Or
there are lots of different types of independent living programs in the country, and we regularly look at best practices across the board. Many of them are not necessarily in towns. The reason that South Orange works so well for us, it's a walkable community. Our clients don't drive, but they're a part of this vibrant community. They can go into town to the Walgreens, they can go get a pizza, they can go to the diner, they can, so they really thrive in this community. There's also a lot of mass transit here, trains, buses, and all of that. And our clients travel to New York and they travel all over New Jersey. So they really practice these independent skills and are able to grow and live their best life.
so what are some of the issues that your hardest struggles? I mean, what are some of the real issues that are plaguing you that you're
Um,
up?
the real issues that are plaguing us, well, it's always dollars, of course, to support, and expand programs and expand services. So that's
How willing are businesses, like not individuals, but how willing are like banks or local businesses willing to? I mean, is it getting tougher and tougher now, or?
well, it is. I mean, certainly after COVID, everybody's very, cost conscious. But the business community does support us quite a bit. We have many clients working for local businesses in town. And so that's been a wonderful relationship, and they do contribute to JESPY. So they're very supportive of our clients, not just financially, but also on the employment and different programs for our clients.
So I'm just curious, like I know you had an early role running being an operations manager for a big science center.
Right.
How do you bring, like, what are some of those skills that you brought back from a
Great.
completely different sector?
Yeah, so it was
really
that
curious.
also my
Oh, and
my
you worked
work
for
in J
New Jersey Performing
Right,
Arts Center as well. I'm
right,
sorry, I didn't mention that.
right. No, that's okay.
You were
Um,
operations director for one of the biggest performing arts centers in New Jersey. And I know you dealt with crazy celebrities and all sorts of difficult issues, but I'm just sort of really wondering how that prepped you for this role.
Well, I think the prep was from the beginning of my nonprofit career, I was always interested in developing teams in the whole organizational management space of how to develop teams, not only teams that have the passion, but teams that can be efficient and productive to move nonprofits forward. Because, the healthier a nonprofit, the better services they can provide for those that they work with.
But, I've been hired as a story strategist to do team building, and that's like, for me, it's just so complex. The various, self-interest and craziness. And I mean, I'd love to hear your philosophy approach. How do you take disparate desires, goals, needs, and egos and kind of figure it out? I'd love to hear what you do.
It really all boils down to the mission, and particularly at JESPY, our mission is a wonderful, beautiful one. And the people that work here are very committed and very dedicated to our clients. And so that's sort of the foundation for building a team, is that we are all on the same page in
No, I mean,
terms
you're
of.
speaking in glowing, optimistic terms, but I know that what do you do with the one idiot who's completely non-compliant? Seriously, how do you manage the two or three egomaniacs in the group?
Well, well, there's a lot of professional development that we work on. We do
Give me,
a
give
lot
me some
of
specific ideas. Like, give me this, like you get one, let's say you get one narcissistic crazy out of the whole bunch. What do you do? Besides firing them, what do you do?
No, I have to say that people actually self-level out. I think
How,
people
on their
realize
own, or do you,
is
like, is there a way to help them do
on
that?
their own. I think, there's a concept of manage up or manage out, right? And I think when you're holding people accountable for their specific roles and you're measuring how they're serving their clients, most of the time it's self-leveling and people realize, gee, this might not be the place for me.
So what are some team building activities or approach? Like, what are some of the endeavors that you would do to get your teams in place? Because you said that's like your real passion.
So one of the things that we do offer here, and because I'm the leader of this organization, I was able to put it in place, but we have an incredible benefits program, not in the sense of the corporate benefits package, but we have a lot of benefits for our clients. For instance, we have, a student loan forgiveness program that we signed up with. And one of our employees actually saved tens of thousands of dollars with student loan forgiveness, So we're doing a lot of benefits for our for our staff that you typically wouldn't see in other organizations. And that's what's really important, is to share. We have above and beyond. We recognize people all the time for their amazing work.
What about in getting them to work collectively together?
Yeah, I do a lot of work on the collaboration end because, as we have different departments, there's a tendency to sort of just, narrow in. But we have a lot of collaborative project management meetings and process meetings that help people see how our 360-degree approach, it is critical that you all work together for the good of the client. So if there's an issue in recreation, but the clinical staff don't know it or don't understand it, they can help each other. And so that's what's really critical, is that everybody work together for the good of the client. So these interdisciplinary meetings and strategies are really very helpful.
So it's like you can't build anything till you have these teams in place and this team behavior. Like, I mean, is that your core, like whatever job you start at, this is like the first building block.
You got to build a team, and you have to keep paying attention to the team, because the team changes. I mean, we're all individuals and we have work-life balance and we have all of this, but it's important that once you start with the mission, that you continue to understand what providing high quality service is, and everybody's on the same team.
It's interesting. My very first job right out of college was working. I should never have been hired for this, but I was doing storytelling with sexually abused kids in the South Bronx. No vetting, no training. And I intuitively got in there. But, I would get sent to these horrific environments, whether it be, shelters for abused women, this and that. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm seeing parts of the world that nobody else sees. And it changed me forever. Like this, it just gave me a lens that I felt like most of my other friends didn't have. And I was just wondering, do you feel like the same now? Like, do you kind of have a lens onto a part of the world that has changed you, or, do you see the world differently now as a result of, your work?
Yeah, I do. And actually every nonprofit that I've been with has changed me in that way. This more profoundly, because I realize that there's a lot of disability discrimination out there, because the more visible we are, the more we get out there in the communities, the more we get national attention. There are people that are not comfortable.
Can you give me like specifics on that? Like, is it more nuanced it's more nuanced these days, right?
It is because people speak in code. Some people aren't as brazen to say things out loud. But for instance, we have a Go Big for JESPY, this initiative that I'm talking about, and we're in the middle of the planning board here process. And it's a wonderful process and we're working through it, but there are some, a vocal minority who are not very kind. And
When you say a vocal, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you say a vocal minority, are you talking
neighbors and community people? Yeah.
How do you feel that?
Hurtful things,
Oh.
Yeah. But on the flip side, we have many people that support us and support people with disabilities living in their community, because it certainly is rewarding and makes for a better community.
Well, do your clients absorb and feel that kind of discrimination? Is it something they're aware of?
They're aware of it, but we work very hard to point out that there are a lot of positives and there's a lot of supporters out there, and they're very appreciative for that. Yeah.
Well, how would the prejudice take a practical route? Like, how does it affect practically what you do?
Well, in terms of advocacy, we have done a lot of work with our clients in terms of self-advocacy. It's about self-determination, self-confidence, and our clients recognize that, that we are all doing this for the right reasons. This project is something that's really very important. And they have been much more vocal and able to express themselves in very different ways in terms of the advocacy.
And themselves, near where I live, suddenly a stop sign went up, and it went up like right before somebody's driveway. And I'm like, What? Like, how did my first reaction was I was pissed off. I'm like, how is there a stop sign just for this one person in this one driveway? How dare they? It's so selfish. And then I sort of realized, kind of after thinking about your work, I mean, maybe there's somebody disabled in that house who is in danger. Like, I don't know, but I remember feeling like my first reaction was just pissed, and I wonder if that's the sort of like unspoken bias that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's why the advocacy and awareness is so important, because we have had lots of people who have said, oh, I don't know, I'm afraid, I don't want this, but you don't really know. You don't know people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. You don't know who they are. And I remember we did a project, we opened up our first aging in place house in town, and someone called and said, gee, I'm kind of nervous. What kind of people are you and all this? And I brought over our clients and we sat down at their board meeting, and you could see within minutes their shoulders just dropped because they realized, oh my God, like Nancy was sitting there knitting, and Ellen was sitting there doing a project. And they realized, for goodness sakes, there's, people are people and they're wonderful people. And in the end, the neighbors have embraced them. So
Yeah.
it really is about, ignorance and lack of knowledge in that.
But it's, that is what prejudice is. It's like you have that group and then you have the individual next door. And usually once you meet the individual, the group kind of fear disappears. But
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
interesting that you're feeling, what is an aging in place? I don't know what that
So we have
means.
an aging, so when I first came on 8 years ago, our clients, so people with intellectual and developmental disabilities show signs of age-related challenges decades earlier than the neurotypical population. So what we see in our 40 and 50-year-olds, you may see in 60 and 70-year-olds. So I knew right away that we had to take care of this. I mean, we have 300 clients. Look, we're all moving in that direction, right? And so we were able to get an incredible donation and open up a house in South Orange just for our aging in place clients. And it's one of the first and few in New Jersey, specifically for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
What kinds of things would happen early onset for them?
Oh my gosh, every challenge that you could think of for older adults just happens decades earlier, and you have to be very aware of it. And this house is 24/7 oversight. The clients are still very independent. They work, they volunteer, they go out and do shopping. They live their best life, but there is that 24/7 oversight to help them, whether it's medication reminders or help with laundry or whatever the case is. The other beautiful part about is that these 9 clients live in this wonderful house. They cook together, they eat dinner together. You don't have to, but you have this collective community if you want it. They certainly have their own bedrooms and bathrooms, but if you want this collective community, you have it there. And you're not isolated. You want to come out of your room and talk to somebody, you can do it. You want to watch TV with somebody, you can do it. As a matter of fact, our recreation programs now go to the houses. So our music director goes and they do sing-alongs and they play games, and so we do a lot of fun things for the Aging in Place program.
So what about you personally? I mean, what happens from here? Do you want to stay with this organization a long time? Do you have dreams of your own? I mean, where do you go from having such a kind of illuminating experience?
That's a big question, but yes, I adore being here. It is incredibly challenging, which I love, and incredibly rewarding at the same time. So that's really a wonderful thing. And now that we have this initiative, we really need to bring it home. And so for the next several years, we'll be working on finishing these buildings and filling them with our clients, our programs, and our services.
So not for the next foreseeable future, you're not going to be sitting on a beach in Miami in retirement.
No,
Okay.
no.
Listen, I can't thank you enough. I mean, I can't believe it's been already a half an hour, but it's been really interesting. I had no idea about everything you're up to, and I'm so glad to learn about it. Is it hard to get into, JESPY? Is there a huge waiting lists or?
There is a waiting list. Our programs are very, very highly regarded, and there's a large need in the state. So
Yeah.
there is a waiting list. That's why these projects are so important.
Yeah, well, hopefully more and more housing will be built. And yeah, I mean, it's clearly the wave of the future that, I'm really impressed with what you're up to, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you so much. It was great to be with you.
And I'm wishing you continued success.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.